first schools of witchcraft and wizardry. Did the Sorting Hat originally belong to Gryffindor? Is it true that Slytherin and Gryffindor weren't always rivals? Did Ravenclaw really die of a broken heart? Was Ravenclaw responsible for designing and naming Hogwarts? It's time for me to answer all these questions and more, since this is ASMR. Aaron, back at it again with another daily video to help you relax. So lay back and enjoy the ride. I hope this read helps you get you through your day, or even better, I hope this video helps you gently fall asleep. I can't wait to get started. This is the tale of the founders of Hogwarts.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, commonly shortened to Hogwarts, is a fictional British school of magic for students aged 11 to 18, and is the primary setting for the first 6 schools in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. Rowling has suggested that she may have inadvertently taken the name from the Hogwart plant, which she had seen at Kew Gardens some time before writing the series, although the names The Hogwarts and Hogwart appear in the 1954 Nigel Molesworth book, How to Be Top, by Geoffrey Willans. In the novels, Hogwarts is somewhere in Scotland. The school is depicted as having numerous charms and spells on and around it that make it impossible for a Muggle to locate it. Muggles cannot see the school. Rather, they see only ruins and several warnings of danger. The castle's setting is described as having extensive grounds with sloping lawns, flower beds and vegetable patches, a loch called the Black Lake, a large dense forest called the Forbidden Forest, several greenhouses and other outbuildings, and a full-size Quidditch pitch. There is also an owlry, which houses all the owls owned by the school and those owned by students. Some rooms in the school tend to move around, and so do the stairs in the grand staircase. Witches and wizards cannot apparate or disapparate in Hogwarts grounds, except when the headmaster lifts the enchantment, whether only in certain areas or for the entire campus, so as to make the school less vulnerable when it serves the headmaster to allow apparition. Electricity and electronic devices are not found at Hogwarts. Electricity and electronic devices are not found at Hogwarts. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Hermione indicates that due to the high levels of magic, substitutes for magic that Muggles use, such as computers, radar, and substitutes for magic that Muggles use, such as computers, radar, and electricity, go haywire around Hogwarts. Radios, however, make an exception. Rowling explains this by saying that the radios are not powered by electricity, but by magic. Hogwarts is on the shore of a lake, sometimes called the Black Lake. In that lake are mere people. In that lake are mere people, Grindylows, and a giant squid. The giant squid does not attack humans, and sometimes acts as a lifeguard when students are in the lake. Hogwarts is a co-educational secondary boarding school, taking children from ages 11 to 18. Education at Hogwarts is not compulsory, with some students being homeschooled, as stated in the 7th book. Rowling initially said there are about 1,000 students at Hogwarts. She later suggested around 600, while acknowledging that this number was still inconsistent with the small number of people in Harry's year. She further explained that this had resulted from her creating only 40 characters for Harry's year. Rowling has said that Hogwarts is a multi-faith school. She has further stated on the subject, "The only people I never imagined there are Wiccans." In response to the query, "Do you think there are a lot of LGBT students in modern-age Hogwarts? I like to imagine they formed an LGBT club," Rowling replied, "But of course." The Hogwarts Founders, also known as the Hogwarts Four, were 4 witches and wizards who established Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry during the medieval era in the 10th century. These 4 founders are widely described as being the most brilliant witches and wizards of the time, and were the following: Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin. Each of them created their own house. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin, respectively. They laid the foundations for the largest and most prestigious wizarding school in Britain. Godric Gryffindor is the founder of Gryffindor House. A fair man, he believed that any child who displayed magical abilities before their 11th birthday should be able to attend Hogwarts. Godric valued courage and bravery, believing these were the 2 most virtuous abilities a person can possess. Gryffindor was the original owner of the Sorting Hat, which he and his fellow founders enchanted to select people to be sorted into their houses by seeing the qualities each founder valued the most. Gryffindor also had a sword made, which would present itself to any true Gryffindor in a moment of need. The sword became an important item 1,000 years later, and was instrumental in defending Hogwarts from Slytherin's descendant. He was allegedly the best friend of Slytherin before he left Hogwarts. His house corresponds to the element of fire. Helga Hufflepuff is the founder of Hufflepuff House. A kind and warm woman, she believed that in order to be sorted into Hufflepuff House, a person must possess the values of loyalty, patience, and be hard-working above all else. It is also known that she brought the house elves to Hogwarts. She owned a fine golden cup which was fairly innocuous aside from being her possession. The cup was sought by Lord Voldemort. Nearly 1,000 years later, for him to turn it into a Horcrux. She was the best friend of Rowena Ravenclaw. Her house corresponds to the element of earth. Rowena Ravenclaw is the founder of Ravenclaw House. A sharp and intelligent woman, intellect is a highly valued asset to the students of Ravenclaw House. Due to this, it is likely that Rowena wanted to make Hogwarts the very finest wizarding school on earth, teaching those children with the highest intelligence. Rowena also had a daughter, Helena, who later became the Grey Lady of Hogwarts as a ghost. Helena stole her mother's diadem, and it became lost. It was believed to have been lost for so long that no one alive had seen it. However, it had actually been found by Lord Voldemort, with the aid of the ghost of Ravenclaw's daughter. He turned it into a Horcrux and later hidden once more, this time within the Room of Requirement, where it would remain hidden for at least 50 years. She was a best friend of Helga Hufflepuff. Her house corresponds to the element of air. Salazar Slytherin is the founder of Slytherin House. Sly and cunning, he was not unlike many of the students he brought into his house. He believed strongly that only wizards of pure blood, i.e. those with a mother and father from wizarding families, should be allowed to attend Hogwarts. Slytherin caused great dispute over this with the other founders, and it eventually caused a permanent rift with Gryffindor, which led to Slytherin's departure from the school. Before he left, however, he created the Chamber of Secrets, complete with a huge statue of himself and a horrible monster. Almost 1,000 years later, Slytherin's descendant, Lord Voldemort, would seek to fulfill his desires of banishing Muggleborns from Hogwarts and exterminating them. One of his personal effects, a locket, was later claimed by Voldemort to be used as a Horcrux. He was the best friend of Godric Gryffindor before the rift occurred and he left Hogwarts. His house corresponds to the element of water. After Hogwarts was built, the founders coexisted peacefully for many years. Eventually, however, the pressure from Slytherin to admit only pure-blood wizards affected the other three founders greatly, and none more than Gryffindor. Slytherin finally left Hogwarts following a massive argument with Gryffindor over the issue, and he never returned. Each of the founders would later be linked to the Dark Lord, Voldemort, in some way, as he used an item belonging to the Each of the founders would later be linked to the Dark Lord Voldemort in some way, as he used an item belonging to 3 of them for several of his Horcruxes. Slytherin himself was the ancestor of Voldemort. Voldemort aspired to see his vision of a pure blood, only Hogwarts. Voldemort aspired to see his vision of a pure blood only Hogwarts come to fruition, as well as ridding the rest of the world of Muggles. Slytherin's locket was one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. Ravenclaw's diadem was sought by Voldemort to be one of his Horcruxes. Voldemort found the missing diadem by asking for its location from Ravenclaw's daughter, Helena, and promised that he would destroy it. However, he broke his promise as soon as he had it. Hufflepuff's cup was claimed by Voldemort from Hepzibah Smith. Hufflepuff's cup was claimed by Voldemort from Hufflepuff's cup was claimed by Voldemort from Hepzibah Smith, a collector of antiquities, who also had the locket of Salazar Slytherin. The cup was entrusted to Bellatrix Lestrange for safekeeping. Voldemort didn't acquire an item from Gryffindor, although it is believed by some that he may have intended to use the sword of Gryffindor, although it wouldn't present itself to him since he was not a true Gryffindor. The sword would later become key to Voldemort's defeat, as it was used to kill Salazar Slytherin's basilisk, when Voldemort tried to rid Hogwarts of Muggleborns by reopening the Chamber of Secrets, which resulted in it being infused with the venom of the basilisk, granting it the ability to destroy Horcruxes, being used to destroy 3 of them. According to Pottermore, the legendary... According to Pottermore, the legendary sorting hat once belonged to Godric Gryffindor. Some fans have speculated that the hat was originally a regular wizard's hat, one that Gryffindor frequently wore. Once the plans for establishing Hogwarts were underway, the four founders combined their efforts and enchanted the hat to take on the daunting task of sorting each of the school's students. A notable string of charged Slytherin and Gryffindor rivalries, Grindelwald and Dumbledore, Voldemort and Harry, Snape and James, started with the founders of the two strong-willed houses. Based on what we learned from the Harry Potter books, it seems like every generation has their own intense Slytherin and Gryffindor rivalry. Interestingly, the sorting hat says that Slytherin and Gryffindor were good friends when they founded Hogwarts, but as time wore on and Slytherin became more selective in his admission process, their friendship suffered. Their ideologies tore them apart, namely Slytherin's prejudice against any wizard who wasn't a pure blood. That said, the Pottermore Slytherin acceptance letter says that the two wizards were more alike than we think, noting that Slytherin and Gryffindor often favoured the same kind of students. The letter also says that the two houses were opposite sides of the same coin, which could also explain why they clashed so fiercely. Rowena Ravenclaw's end was a tragic one. It's said she died of a broken heart that was caused by the loss of her daughter, Helena, who would eventually become the Ravenclaw house ghost, the Grey Lady. The strain between Rowena and her daughter's relationship began when Helena stole Rowena's diadem, a magical artifact the Dark Lord eventually found and turned into one of his Horcruxes. Rowena Ravenclaw wasn't called the brightest witch of her time for nothing. Much of the credit for the design of Hogwarts goes to her, since the founders used her blueprints to build the castle. One of her more notable skills was magical architecture, a skill she used to create Hogwarts' constantly changing grand staircase. Considering the size of the castle and the intricate spellwork required to create moving staircases and disappearing rooms, this was no small feat. It's also widely believed that Ravenclaw was responsible for naming the School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. In a wombat test posted on J.K. Rowling's original website, one of the questions implied that Ravenclaw named the school after she had a dream about a warty hog leading her to the cliff by the Great Lake. And so ends the tale of the founders of Hogwarts, the famous Harry Potter characters, who lived happily... What? And so ends the... Wait. And so ends the tale of the founders of Hogwarts, the famous Harry Potter characters who lived happily ever after in their imaginary world.